According to producer Phil Collinson, showrunner Russell T Davies came up with the concept for Father's Day during early plannings of the revived series, as he felt it would be a perfect time travel story. Davies insisted on a storyline that would be easy to follow and be drawn from human emotions. Furthermore, the production team felt that the previous 7 episodes had established why Rose was a good companion. I mean, they were mixed on those results, but let's carry on. Father's Day shows that she does make mistakes, but in a relatable way. Davies chose Paul Cornell to write the episode. Cornell had previously written Doctor Who spin-off material for the Virgin New Adventure books, which bridged the gap between the classic series and the new. Davies originally intended that the episode be a small-budget saver character piece, investigating the death of Rose's father, but Cornell suggested the addition of the Reapers to the episode. Working titles were Wounded Time and Wound in Time. Davies came up with the final title, though, of Father's Day. Davies and Cornell debated whether it should have been Rose's plan all along to save her father, and this is kind of left ambiguous in the episode. Billie Piper felt that it did not occur to Rose until after she began travelling with the Doctor. In the original script, in the scene where the Doctor opens the TARDIS and discovers only a police box interior, the original idea was the TARDIS would crumble to dust, a la the ending to Infinity War. This was changed for the reasons of costs, and Cornell has stated that he thinks that this change is an improvement. Cornell also states that the character of Pete Tyler is based on his own father, who attempted many different jobs and schemes, including like Pete, selling health drinks, before eventually finding success running a betting shop. Pete's line, "I'm your dad, it's my job for it to be my fault," is taken from something Cornell's father once said to him. Originally, Pete was to take a swig of wine before he sacrificed himself at the end, but this was removed because a correlation between alcohol and bravery was not thought to be a positive message. The Reapers went through many redesigns. Originally they were supposed to be men in cowls, based on the actual Grim Reaper. The final design retains some of this image with its scythe-like tail, and the original design was deemed too similar to creatures seen in the End of the World, and were reworked into something more otherworldly. They were not originally intended to fly, and there was also discussion of how much they would resemble animals as opposed to the Grim Reaper. The end result is a mixture of the two approaches. The final design had a shark-like quality, but with bat wings and a mouth influenced by a praying mantis. Vulture sound effects were also used for their screeches. The CGI models were made over a 2-month period, being finished at the end of February 2005, rather than at the beginning of January as originally scheduled. The special effects team then had 2 or 3 weeks to complete the 40-odd shots of the completely CGI Reapers in the episode. The episode ended up being more expensive than intended because of the CGI. Also, the message, "Watson, come here, I need you," reportedly Alexander Graham Bell's first words ever spoken over a telephone. However, historical records indicate that the words are, "Watson, come here, I want you." Now, the error was not present in the script, but it crept in at some point during production. Producer Phil Collinson speculated that it was because the line was actually re-recorded in post-production. It was originally recorded by someone who the production team felt put on too false of a Scottish accent, and so it was re-recorded by an actual Scot. The episode begins with the Doctor taking Rose to the day her father, Peter Tyler, died, so that he's not alone when he is killed in a hit-and-run accident. After witnessing the accident, Rose is unable to comfort Pete. Going back again, Rose suddenly pushes Pete aside, and the younger Doctor and Rose vanish, with the timeline being potentially damaged. The Doctor finds the TARDIS is now an empty shell, with strange flying beasts called the Reapers appearing and consuming everything within the damaged timeline. The main thing I love about Father's Day is it being a character study, but also a mix of sci-fi. These are usually the things I love about the genre. Sci-fi elements like paradoxes and alternate timelines, etc., but it's the emotion of the characters that drive the story as opposed to an over-reliance on logic and mumbo-jumbo. Character pieces are often hard to do, but Cornell's script contains engaging characters, but also keeping the stakes high so that the audience's interest doesn't wane or we're not bored while watching. Furthermore, the script just feels so human, with so much humanity that's personified throughout the episode. Again, Christopher Eccleston is fantastic in this episode, being a confident and also the most human we've probably seen the Doctor in this series so far. Eccleston is able to make all the sci-fi jargon sound genuine, and you just want to listen to him all the time, as he is the oldest and wisest figure in the church hall. Furthermore, he does get to be pretty ruthless, as he does seem set on leaving Rose as she's got her dad back, and as long as you're with the Doctor you abide by his rules no matter what. His look to Rose at the end pretty much says, cross me again and that will be it. But honestly, I felt that the consequences are a bit inconsistent this series, which I'll touch upon in a little while. My Christopher Eccleston moment of the week has to be his conversation with Stuart and Sarah. He asks them how they got together. Stuart offered to get Sarah a taxi at 2 a.m. in the morning, but they don't think that important. They got together for a simple reason as that. The Doctor completely disagrees here. A small moment on a street corner at 2 a.m. in the morning is something he's never experienced before. The Doctor has seen creatures, monsters, gods, good, evil, hundreds of planets, countless civilization, and unlimited rice pudding, but never something like that. Later in Bad Wolf, the Doctor mentions all he's after is a quiet life. For me, his meeting with the Daleks and the aforementioned moments in this episode is the perfect way to describe the Ninth Doctor. He's fought in a massive war and seen the genocide of 2 species, even his own. Maybe that's all he did want in the end. Travelling the universe just looking for peace again instead of evil to fight, but obviously standing up to it because it is right. While it was only mentioned a few times in the series and didn't go much anywhere, I do think that it was a nice touch to the Ninth Doctor's arc in Series 1. Billie Piper has even said that this is her favourite episode of the first series, and I can definitely see why. Now, I'm not going to act like I have too many positive things to say about Rose this series so far, but I won't deny how brilliant Billie Piper is as an actress. See, I can be nice. Rose's vision of her dad is this successful businessman, but in reality he was just a bit of a Del boy making a bit of cash, and Piper's acting on seeing her dad for the first time is brilliant as she runs such a range of emotions because she doesn't know how to feel in this situation. It was a good decision to save her dad, but she didn't think of the consequences. Normally I would complain, but as human beings, yes, we do make mistakes. It's almost similar to how Marty saves his dad in Back to the Future. He wasn't thinking clearly, but he saw his dad in danger, and his gut instinct was to save him. Also, protagonist travels back in time and saves father from being run over. Was that a deliberate homage? When showing off Pete's skills and trophies at the flat, her performance is great. She may as well be speaking to a brick wall, even with the Doctor being in the room, being as unresponsive as he is. The happiness and pride that Rose has for Pete feels so genuine, and a lot of it I think is down to Piper's performance. Furthermore, I do love it when she sees her mum and dad arguing. When you think about it, growing up, she never saw them argue because of Pete's death. This is more or less the first time ever. She's been raised on stories about her dad was the most wonderful man in the world, but in reality, he's just a guy trying to make a living selling dodgy stuff. Though my problem with Rose is this. She doesn't really face the consequences of her actions. Yes, the Doctor does berate her for her actions, but she's still painted as the victim here. In the previous episode, Adam tried to change history, even though that was his first trip in the TARDIS, and yet Rose actively changes history in this episode, causing the Reapers to appear, and she's not even sent home again like Adam, and this is what, her 7th or 8th trip in the TARDIS? Is it just me, or does anyone else find that a bit dodgy? I mean, it probably is just me. But anyway, this is most definitely Billie Piper's finest hour. She's absolutely fantastic here. The supporting cast are also brilliant. Sean Dingwall as Pete Tyler is definitely the highlight for me. He feels like such a real person. He has hopes and ambitions that many would deem unrealistic, such as being a businessman selling products like health drinks and having an outside compartment for food. Or alternatively, you could just use a fridge. On the surface, he may be a Del boy, but deep down, he's a man who just wants to provide for his family and earn a living for them. Furthermore, he asks such relatable questions about the future, like, has he gone grey, has he gone bald? That's what we'd all ask, or what do we look like in the future? When he sacrifices himself to save everyone, my heart always breaks when I watch it. He just realises how lucky he is before he dies. He managed to have a few more hours added on for when he was supposed to die, and even got to see his daughter all grown up again. It wasn't wasted at all, it was all worth it in the end, and no one on Earth got what he had before he died. But still, before he dies, he realises if he didn't have the time, he still really is lucky, because he has a wonderful wife and daughter. He realised the best things about himself thanks to the presence of the Doctor and Rose. And I hope you're keeping track of this, faithful watchers, because it'll all mean something in the end. Camille Cajuri is also great as Jackie. Her and Pete do feel like a genuine couple, and she doesn't realise how much of a great man Pete was until he was gone. Again, it feels so human. We can argue and row with our loved ones all the time, but sometimes we just don't realise how brilliant they are until they are gone. Her reaction to the doctor telling her to check the doors is also pretty priceless. As I mentioned before, Stuart and Sarah are a pretty likeable couple. Again, they just feel like real people that you'd meet in the street, and I love how the doctor feels they're important despite how ordinary their lives are compared to his. It makes the church setting more pivotal to the story. You genuinely want to see this be all over so they can get happily married. Production-wise, I love the look of this story. You genuinely feel like you've stepped into the 80s, and you can tell the production team went to great detail to make it look like the time period, with the cars, costume, and definitely the hair. The church interior is also visually appealing. I love the old aesthetic look of churches anyway, so that's an automatic win for me. The music is also great by Murray Gold. Rose's theme is appropriately used throughout and never feels out of place, hitting at the emotional high points of the episode without feeling too intrusive. The Reapers themselves look pretty good. They're obviously a computer-generated effect, but their unique design gives them a very good screen presence. Plus their screeches are genuinely intimidating and scary. However, the Reapers are also part of my problem with the episode. They're trying to give this episode even more stakes when I felt that keeping it small and focused on the characters would have been enough. We constantly get told throughout the episode that this is the end of the world, and while I get that this is to show the consequences of time being changed, I honestly feel it wasn't needed, as the execution just feels cliched and tacked on. But in all honesty, that's a minor quibble I have with this episode. It still works extremely well for me and isn't that much of a big deal, but I felt it was worth bringing up. In conclusion, Father's Day is an emotional high point of Series 1, with great performances that are topped off with an excellent set of characters that are engaging and drive the story forward with well-executed science fiction conventions that make this one of the most human stories that Doctor Who has ever done. Well everyone, that's all from me. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Father's Day, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.